The United States' newest push for peace in Ukraine has triggered an unprecedented political earthquake across Europe, sparking intense debates among allies and sending capitals scrambling to respond to the implications of Washington's plan. President Donald Trump has dramatically increased pressure on Ukraine, urging Kiev to accept his highly controversial peace framework, a move that has left Ukrainian leaders grappling with intense diplomatic and domestic pressure. According to the Financial Times, the United States has recommended that Ukraine withdraw its forces from the Donbas region and convert it into a so-called free economic zone, a proposal that has sparked outrage among Kiev officials. Significantly, the US-backed peace plan makes no demand for Russian troops to withdraw from Donetsk and Luhansk, leaving the most contentious military positions untouched and raising serious concerns for Ukrainian leaders. Instead, the plan insists that Ukrainian forces should retreat from their positions in the Donetsk region, effectively placing the responsibility for de-escalation solely on Kiev while Russian troops remain in place. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has reacted with outrage to the proposal, warning that any withdrawal by Ukrainian forces could create an open pathway for Russian troops to advance further into the region. Beyond Donbas, the plan envisions Ukraine pulling back from key areas in Kherson and Zaporizhzhia, freezing front lines in a move that Kiev sees as potentially handing strategic advantage to Russian forces. Zelensky has cautioned that Russian forces could disguise themselves as civilians to infiltrate and take control of the proposed free economic zone, turning a supposed compromise into a strategic disaster. The Ukrainian president emphasized that no territorial concessions can be legitimate unless they are decided directly by the Ukrainian people, either through national elections or a referendum, rejecting any external imposition. Zelensky asked pointedly, who will govern this territory, which is being labeled as a free economic zone or a demilitarized zone? The truth is, nobody has provided clarity on that fundamental question. If Ukrainian troops are required to pull back while Russian forces remain in place, what will prevent these Russian soldiers from advancing unchecked? Zelensky questioned, highlighting the inherent imbalance in the proposal. Or how can we ensure they don't simply disguise themselves as civilians and seize control of this so-called free economic zone? This is a deeply serious matter with massive security implications, Zelensky added. Zelensky clarified that while Ukraine may not agree to the current plan, any compromise must be equitable and balanced, reflecting the reality on the ground and ensuring Ukrainian sovereignty is respected. Donald Trump is intensifying his efforts to persuade President Zelensky to accept the peace blueprint backed by the United States, ramping up diplomatic pressure on Kiev with public and private messages. Trump publicly claimed that Zelensky had not even read the proposed peace plan, casting doubt on the Ukrainian president's engagement and legitimacy in negotiating with international partners. Trump's press secretary expressed frustration, saying the administration is tired of endless meetings that produce no results, stressing the need for concrete decisions on the Ukraine peace deal. Zelensky stated that Kiev has sent a revised version of the plan to Washington, yet key issues remain unresolved, reflecting the deep gaps between Ukrainian demands and US proposals. Control over Donbas and the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant continues to be a central sticking point in the negotiations, with both sides unwilling to compromise on these strategically critical areas. Under the proposed deal, Russia would cede only minor pockets of territory elsewhere while retaining the majority of the lands it currently occupies, a scenario that Kiev finds unacceptable. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte warned that a Russian victory in Ukraine would dramatically escalate the reality of war in Europe, increasing the likelihood of further military confrontations across the continent. Rutte cautioned that if Europe does not respond decisively, Russia could pose a direct threat to NATO member states within the next 5 years, underlining the urgency of strong defense measures. The NATO chief called on European nations to significantly increase their defense spending immediately, stressing that the time for action is now to counter growing Russian ambitions.
We are Russia's next target. And we are already in harm's way. When I became NATO Secretary General last year, I warned that what is happening in Ukraine could happen to allied countries too. That we had to shift to a wartime mindset. I fear that too many are quietly complacent. Too many don't feel the urgency. And too many believe that time is on our side. It is not. The time for action is now. And how is Putin able to continue his war against Ukraine? The answer is China. China is Russia's lifeline. China wants to prevent its ally from losing in Ukraine. Without China's support, Russia could not continue to wage this war. President Trump wants to end the bloodshed now. And he is the only one who can get Putin to the negotiating table. So let's put Putin to the test. Let's see if he really wants peace, or if he prefers the slaughter to continue. We need to be ready, because at the end of this first quarter of the 21st century, conflicts are no longer fought at arm's length. Conflict is at our door. Russia has brought war back to Europe, and we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured.
Across European capitals, discussions are increasingly suggesting that Kiev may have to accept painful compromises, reflecting the growing pressure to reach a diplomatic resolution to the conflict. France, Britain, and Germany have all emphasized that Ukraine alone must decide the future of its territories, rejecting external pressures to force a settlement dictated by foreign powers. German Chancellor Merz warned strongly against pushing Zelensky into accepting a peace agreement that the Ukrainian people would ultimately reject, highlighting the importance of democratic legitimacy in any settlement.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.